I'm just gonna adjust this lighting. I know my face is super dark, but let me see if I can add some lighting to it. Does that look weird?
No, it doesn't look weird. And you know what? I believe we are live.
Yeah.
Hello. Welcome to Talk Chef. I am one of your hosts, Reika.
I'm your other host, Jordan.
We have an amazing special guest, especially for those Top Chef Colorado fans out there, Chef Tu David Phu. Thank you so much for joining us, Tu.
Hey, super excited to be here. Talk Chef, as in Top Chef. Super excited. Thank you for having me.
Oh my God. Of
Excited
course.
to have you. Well, I was saying before you came on to that, Reika and I talk about your corn salpicon like all the time.
Oh,
In
shit.
the first episode of Top Chef Colorado, we think about it a lot because anyone who watches the show knows that Reika and I are big corn fans.
Big corn fans.
Really hit home with us.
Yes, and we simply love a cold dish for a quick fire and for an elimination. And
It's risky.
listen, it's risky and it paid off. So if you haven't seen Top Chef Colorado, you gotta peep it. ASAP.
Well, I just have to say and add to that is, I wasn't able to add the nuances of why I did a salpicon, but salpicon exists on 3 continents. It's in Asia, it's in Europe, and it's in South America. In South America, it's usually a minced meat or a chopped meat. And then in Europe, it's like usually seen as seafood, but it's also diced. And in Southeast Asia and Vietnam, it's not called salpicon. It's called goi. It's a salad. It's actually often root vegetable based, and it's sliced or peeled very, very thin. And that was like in spirit of that. I mean, you can't peel or thinly slice avocado to make it into a salad. So I cubed it. So that's why it's an avocado corn salpicon.
Wow, I didn't know that about it being on 3 continents.
Yes, I've never even heard, especially of it from Europe. So that's so cool.
Okay, wow, we're getting educated already. Incredible. So we're gonna start with our annoying shenanigans in a minute, but just curious, had you seen Top Chef before you went on the show?
Yes, of course. I was huge fans of Sheldon, Kwame, Melissa King, Richard Blaze, Carla Hall. I think if anything, Top Chef was one of those shows for me that had representation for the BIPOC community specifically, and LGBTQ as well, given that it's Pride Month. And I was I love the diversity behind it. However, just like anything else, Top Chef could be more diverse, and they're always working towards to being incredibly more diverse every year.
Yeah.
And I'm proud to be a part of that. But I think if anything, Top Chef is representation for me.
I think that's so true. We talk about that a lot on this show of like because we started at season 1 and how you see like the evolution of people being like, I cooked Asian food. And you're like, what the fuck is Asian food? There's so many countries in Asia, to seeing like Vietnamese chefs, seeing Japanese chefs, seeing chefs from the Congo and all sorts of places. And it's like a huge evolution of the show, which is incredible. We love.
Absolutely.
So getting right into it, first order of business, guys. As you know, Talk Chef is a charity-based show. Every season we raise money for a different food-based organization. And this season we are raising money for Heart of Dinner, which is an organization in New York City that helps deliver groceries and food to the elderly Asian community. A very awesome organization. You can look them up if you want to know more. The way to donate, well, there's a few. One, you can be part of our little Talk Chef tally and donate through us and Venmo Jordan. Her info is going to be in the chat, and it's in the description of the video at JORDANMYR1CK on Venmo. If you're like, hey, I want to get my tax write-off, you can donate on your own on the Heart of Dinner website. You can send us a receipt and we'll put it as the part of the tally. Or if you're like, fuck you guys, we don't want any part of your show, you can donate on your own. You never, ever have to tell us.
That's true. And also, you don't have to watch the show. If you're watching the show and saying, fuck you guys.
Maybe you don't like it. So, it sounds like you don't like us, and that's okay. And maybe you could go do something else.
Yeah.
Could I just add to that? the fact that especially in AAPI communities, there's this stereotype that AAPI communities are really well off. I would just have to say the elder AAPI community are the most marginalized communities. They're the most poorest. They're the one who fills the Chinatowns, the Vietnamese towns, the South Asian towns, and they're the ones who um, endure the most poverty in terms of statistics in major urban cities. So I think what you guys are doing amazing. If you don't want to support that, then fuck you and then fuck your life.
and you know what? Fuck you and fuck your life is sort of the tagline for.
On a shirt.
No, that's an incredible point. Yeah, I think there's a stereotype of like, oh, crazy rich Asians and stuff. There's plenty of underprivileged and underserved Asian communities. So Heart of Dinner is one of the many organizations that's really trying to close that gap, and we love that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's our first order of business. Our second order of business too is something we may not have told you, which is that just like every episode of Top Chef has a quick fire, so every episode of Top Chef. Yeah, sorry. But this is not a cooking quick fire. Yeah, right. You're in the kitchen right now. This quick fire is not food related. It is actually two related. So we're going to ask you 10 questions and you have 45 seconds to answer them. It's the fastest quick fire in Top Chef history. And the prizes, I'm not going to lie, you're going to want these prizes.
Okay, cool.
If you answer all 10 questions in 45 seconds, you will win a deed to the Terlato Wine Vineyard. Now, are you familiar with Terlato wine?
Could you tell me more about it, please?
Absolutely, absolutely. So Terlato wine is a wine that sponsored Top Chef for a couple seasons. And the thing about Terlato wine is that it seems to now be unpurchasable by any living human being.
Oh, wow.
So as much as Reika and I have tried, you cannot buy Terlato wines. Most of the Top Chef contestants that have been on our show have said it is not a good wine. And if you win this, you could win a deed to their entire vineyard.
Yeah, it's located in the center of the earth. That's what we assume. And I'm sure the wine is mostly sugar. So that's one prize. The other prize you'll win is your own personalized suite of broken GE appliances, just like you might see in the Top Chef kitchen sometimes. A fryer that doesn't get up to temp, an oven that kind of drops temperature mysteriously. We don't know why. Did someone sabotage?
Oh, has someone tampered with this? And then you say, oh no, I'm in my home alone. They couldn't have.
Exactly. Where did my pea puree go? Who stole it? We don't know.
Yeah, that's my grand prize right there. That's what I want.
Exactly. Perfect. Okay, we're so excited that you're excited. So Jordan, do you have the questions? Or
I'm ready.
Okay, you're ready. Great, perfect. Or do I? I'm going to start a timer for 45 seconds. The moment, oh my God, every time.
Every episode.
Every
in front of you, Reika.
Good call.
Yeah.
Okay, 45 seconds from the moment Jordan finishes asking question 1. Are you ready?
Ready.
Okay.
Would you rather do a challenge that has multiple different rounds or just one go at it?
One go at it.
Have you ever been to Portland?
Yes.
Who is your favorite judge?
Gail.
Chipotle, the fast casual restaurant, hot or not?
Hot.
Smoky or spicy?
Spicy.
Would you rather eat tofu or meat?
Tofu and meat.
Tofu in the main course or tofu in dessert?
Tofu and dessert.
Most beautiful place you've ever eaten a meal?
Shit, that's a hard one. In my living room with my wife.
Fruit or vegetable?
Fruit.
How cool are Jordan and Reika?
1,000 on a scale of 1 to 10.
You did it!
That's in the nick of time. Great.
Pew, 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 pew. Like confetti.
Absolutely incredible.
Absolutely incredible. Okay, wow. We're going to ship all of that stuff directly to your house, whether you want it or not. Incredible job too. I love tofu and tofu for dessert. I love. Okay.
Yes. There's a dessert in Asia. Well, traditionally Silken Tofu in terms of street food, it's eaten with like a ginger syrup, if you will. So that's my favorite tofu dessert. So without being too fancy about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Incredible. We simply love.
Yes, and just to be clear for anyone who maybe didn't watch the episode this week or watch the episodes in general, all the quickfire questions are based on this week's episode. So as we all know, we can get right into the quickfire kind of discussing that. This week we had, in my opinion, an absolutely horrible challenge where they brought in all the ingredients that you would get that like would be available to you if you were getting food from Chipotle.
Yeah.
And then each judge, being Gail, Padma, and Tom, each one of them had a different thing that you had to make this week. Or
I want smoky and tangy. I want charred and
based on we're gonna go episode. So
is your thing open?
I'm sorry, I had it open on accident.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine.
But I thought they were so weird because each judge was like, I want a dish that's smoky and spicy. And then the next person was like, I want a dish that's spicy and smoky, is like what it felt like to me. And then all the dishes look the same. I
think ultimately this quickfire was stupid. Because also like the ingredients at a Chipotle are simply just ingredients. It's not like
food.
Yeah, it's like onions and what do you mean the ingredients at a Chipotle?
Yeah,
seriously, right?
Yeah, I don't know what this challenge was. It was just a big sponsorship from Chipotle, so great.
Yeah, it was a fat check, so.
Yeah, it's a big fat check.
We respect that. If you know Reka and I, you know we love a big fat check.
We love a big fat check. And honestly, maybe they should do a challenge just like, hey, make whatever you can out of this big fucking fat check we got from Chipotle. Everything is wrapped in this big fat check.
Yeah. I would have liked it more, and this is kind of twisted of me, if they had given them actual completed Chipotle dishes, like a Chipotle burrito bowl with steak, a Chipotle taco with sofritas, whatever, and then they had to deconstruct those and make something out of those. To me, that feels like, I think old school Top Chef is not always great, but I did like when they did challenges like that. This to me felt too easy, especially for the caliber of chef we're working with.
They should have like given Chipotle staff members assigned Chipotle staff members to be their sous chefs.
Yeah. Oh my God. That's incredible. Make a dish that a line cook or whatever at Chipotle can create.
Yeah. And then the challenge is, if you're a really good chef, it will demonstrate your leadership skills and translate to the food that you make, right? So
okay,
feels pretty easy. All of us just kind of came up with multiple different ideas for the challenge. So I want to speak to someone at Top Chef.
If someone at Top Chef is in the chat, which I'm sure they always are.
I'm sure they are.
You can take that idea for free.
No charge.
Yeah,
no
right.
Charge. We'll waive the consulting fee.
Yeah, exactly. We're gonna waive. So I completely agree. I think this challenge was boring, and I think as a testament to it, like I can't remember a single dish that they made off of the top of my head. I can read them to us, but can't really remember. So like very quickly, here's what we had. We usually just do a quick thumbs up, thumbs down if it sounded good. Yeah. And that's up to your interpretation. You can just be like, I would eat it, I wouldn't. You could be like, that doesn't sound like a Top Chef dish, or whatever.
Sure.
So Shoda made pork loin with spicy avocado puree, sauteed spinach, and crunchy black beans.
Yum.
That sounds great.
It's like a burrito wrap sort of vibe, so.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so then Maria made a fried avocado taco with black bean tortilla, serrano peppers, fresh corn, avocado, and spinach and jalapeno salsa.
That sounds legit. Yeah.
That sounds like what Jordan's challenge idea was of like, make a taco, and then she like upscaled it, Yeah, okay. So then Dawn made wood-fired pork loin with crispy onions and a poblano avocado puree.
Ooh, nice. I like Dawn's style because she's really like straightforward, clean and simple. But cooking it like that is not easy,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. I like her style. It's very naked and exposed, but that's really hard to do. So
yeah, for sure. Nowhere to hide.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so then Byron made mojo grilled pork with a poblano and charred corn salad, tomatillo and charred poblano salsa.
Sounds good. Everyone's doing salsa though.
That's what I mean.
Yeah,
it's all sort of the same. Even like the people going later don't. have a disadvantage as I read it because it sounds like they all just did the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Okay, then we had Jamie who made grilled skirt steak with chipotle smoked corn and a spicy tomatillo salsa.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this sounds great. But yeah, all again the same.
It's all salsa. Yeah, it's all salsa.
All salsa, baby.
Mm-hmm.
Gabe made bay leaf oil roasted pork with smoked jalapeno and a tomatillo salsa and avocado.
That sounds good. It sounds like more like a Midwestern, maybe Southern thing, opposed to being more Mexican. I like that.
Yeah, exactly. He's awesome with like his sauces and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that I think was everyone from the quickfire. And Dawn is our winner from the quickfire.
Very
so
cool.
That's great. She's really crushing it. Love to see Dawn.
Silent killer. I'm telling you, man. I'm rooting for Dawn and Shota.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, you ain't got to talk to us about Shota. We're all Shota heads here.
And he's come on the show. He was sweet like an angel.
Yeah.
We love him, and we've been saying we think Shota is going to win from day one. But I think
so.
I think Dawn also has a good standing because Dawn just keeps getting better and better every week.
She's evolving all the time. I personally think Gabe's going to take the win. I think Shota top 3 for sure, if not top 2, if not winner also.
What do you think finals are? I think it's going to be Dawn and Shota. Those are my.
I mean, what a delicious finale that would be.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're going to do a top 3. I don't know if they're going to do a top 2. I think they're going to do Gabe, Shota, and Dawn because I do think this season there are so many favorites that I think they might do a top 3. But
I agree. If Shota's not in the top 3, I do think there will be a riot from us personally.
Yeah.
Incredible. So the challenge in this episode, Be Still My Heart, the only sporting event I could ever wish to join, a tournament of tofu.
Yes.
They go to a tofu factory, which really, as a vegetarian, was an incredible experience for me. I had a blast watching them in the tofu factory. Incredible.
Also, this is exciting. Some of you might have seen this on our Instagram, but Reika and I actually watched this week's episode together for the first time ever because we've both been quarantined for forever. And then this week we watched together, and both of us love tofu so much. It's an ingredient near and dear to our hearts, so it felt very exciting.
It felt very special.
Tofu is amazing. There's so many different textures you can execute in tofu, and firm tofu itself, that's an American-made thing. From the plant-based movement. You go back to Asia, no one makes firm tofu.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Did that either?
Do you have a favorite firmness or favorite type of tofu?
So there's different grades. There's silken tofu, which is made fresh and coagulated in front of you, and there's different ways to coagulate that. Like back in the days, they coagulated with the enzymes from ginger, but now they do it with this thing called calcium sulfate. But I think my favorite ways to do it are what you would do with soy milk, and you put it over heat. You put it over a pilot, and it starts to form a skin, and that's called yuba. Yuba. Skin, yeah. And then there's different grades of yuba. One of my favorite grades is Kumiyage, which is like, it has a creamy, if you harvest it at the right time, it has the texture of burrata. And for me, I like that better than burrata. It's like rich, creamy, unctuous, you can cut into it. It's spreadable. And I've done like tons of crazy things with Kumiyage. It's just a pain in the ass to do, and
sure.
You can only do so much,
Yes.
when Whole Foods is your sponsor, and then like you can only get pasteurized soy milk that sits over the shelf, right?
Yeah.
It is Kumiyage something I can buy at some sort of specialty store, or is it like, no, you got to just find someone that knows how to make it?
If you're in the Bay Area, Whole Foods, which is a very famous nationwide organic tofu brand, they make Kumiyage, and I think they'll ship it to you, but it's offered only wholesale. Maybe I could get you guys some samples for giving me the deed to that vineyard and those amazing GE appliances.
The idea of someone sending me tofu, I will not be able to sleep at night.
That's Rika's language.
You know what? Send me your addresses after this call, and I'll hook you guys up with some tofu.
Oh,
I'm going to be sick. Wow, I'm going to fucking die. Wow.
Of Talk Chef.
Yeah, you have to resuscitate us. Okay, that's incredible. Wow. Okay, so we just kind of got a tofu grad school right then, which is incredible. So this challenge was sort of like a bracket style challenge where 3 pairs of chefs had to cook the same type of tofu and kind of battle each other. And then whoever lost had to go to the next style of tofu, eventually going to silken tofu for dessert. First off, what do we think of this kind of March Madness with tofu?
So the silken tofu, is it already made for them, or they have to make silken tofu from scratch? It's already made for them?
It's already made.
It's already made, but it is made by this very famous
it's like that. Yes, like like an OG tofu, like
maker, artisanal maker.
Yeah, I'm like a factory. That doesn't seem like a factory.
Like store-bought tofu.
I
aren't making it themselves.
I'll say this, and this is for all the tofu aficionados out there. Silken tofu can't be artisanal if it's pre-made, period. And you go to any place in Asia, any tofu expert, they're making it fresh every day and they're scooping it in front of you into any container you have. So
any container, sorry. I bring a pig's trough over.
Oh, absolutely, like a emptied out pumpkin. So that's the way they do it with street food. And they would make tofu the same way your baker would make bread every morning, you know? And it's a regular thing. So you can't, that's sort of like a contradiction. You can't make artisanal pre-made silken tofu, because the thing is with tofu, it's like fresh cheese, right? You can't buy fresh cheese. It has to be made. You would go to somebody to make fresh cheese for you, unless it's purposely aged, you know?
Yeah. Sorry, the idea that I could bring a pumpkin of tofu home is really, really delightful.
Right? Yeah.
Oh my God. That's my like Cinderella fantasy.
Yeah.
Can you imagine like cooked pumpkin and like tofu? I think that's one of my favorites too, is that my mom used to make a kombucha soup with chunks of like stewed kombucha, and she would poach until it's like creamy, sweet, you know, and they perfume the broth with scallion. And then she'll have like these layers of like silken tofu just floating around. It was fucking amazing, you know? Yeah.
Wow. Literally didn't know how many levels wow, we're fucking talking firm and silken on this show on Top Chef, and you're giving us 4th dimension tofu here.
Yeah. Tofu is definitely sort of a space that I'm super comfortable in, because it runs in my blood and veins, you know. So
before we dive into, I'm so curious, while we're just talking about tofu, like, do you have a favorite tofu dish? You mentioned you really like tofu desserts, but like, so like on the savory and the sweet spectrum.
Absolutely. I'm a meat eater, and I apologize, but one of my favorite ways of eating tofu, or the way I was introduced to eating tofu, was it had meat in it, and it was stuffed with pork, and they would fry it super crispy and braise it in tomato sauce. So the whole notion that tofu is a plant-based vegetarian hippie thing, once again, that's a very new world sort of American Eurocentric sort of vibe. And back in Asia, people always put tofu with meat unless you are plant-based in temples, you know. And
yes,
monks did it all the time. And that's the thing, is that I think there's a balance too in Asia, is even though when people ate meat, just like any other religion, they'll fast for a month, or either they'll give up meat and they'll be a vegetarian at least 1 day up to 1 week a month. So that's how I came into eating plant-based, in terms of like, you know, my culture and how I was raised. What about you guys? How'd you guys get into eating plant-based?
Reka?
Okay, well, I'll go first. So I'm South Asian, I'm Indian American. And so vegetarianism is super common, but you know, my parents immigrated here, and as many Indian people, when they immigrate here, they immediately start eating meat. So that happened. And so I was raised eating meat. When I was like 11, my grandparents did all the cooking. So when they cooked, they've never touched meat in their lives. But when I would go eat fast food with my dad or whatever, when I was 11, I was like, I love animals. Why am I eating meat? And so I just stopped immediately.
Good for you.
That was like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But tofu was not something I really discovered, because that's not a thing in South Asian households, at least from my experience. And when I went to college, my like best friend in college, her parents were from Hong Kong and owned a restaurant. Yeah. And they would come and visit and cook for us all the time. And it was awesome. And she was like, oh yeah, do you know how to cook tofu? Here's how. And then she showed me how, and it was like, what the fuck have I been doing? I've cooked it at restaurants, but I've never made it. And then I learned all the different ways you can prepare it. I've used it as paneer. I've tricked my grandparents by saying I made mutter paneer, and it was with tofu.
That's awesome.
No.
Can I just add too, is that as a meat eater myself, people always like to think as tofu as a meat substitute. And I think tofu is just special as any other vegetable or whatnot, because you could get, all vegetables have amino acids, which are the building blocks of protein. And if you assemble those things together, you get a complete protein chain. And if I could add too, as well, as a meat eater, vitamin B12, people assume, or there's this stereotype that vitamin B12 can only be getting from beef. Vitamin B12 actually used to run in our rivers, in our natural river water systems, and in lakes as well too. So we could drink water and get vitamin B12. However, because we've chlorinated all of our water systems, B12 has been like weaned out. So we have to get it artificially if we're not eating beef. So I'm sorry, I'm totally geeking out.
Are you like a food scientist?
I'm an advisor. So this, in the space that I am, I pivot out from restaurants like I think like 4 or 5 years ago, and I've been just working as a consultant. Like I've done like an advisor for a food robotics project. I've done sauces, kind of everything in between.
Sauces.
Yeah.
Right. Jordan is married to sauces.
It's my favorite food in the whole wide world is sauce. I think
I love it.
Soup, but people are kind of rude about that.
Yeah.
And it's
What's your favorite sauce, Jordan?
My favorite sauce?
Yes.
Okay, well, any hot sauce is my favorite sauce. I'm a hot sauce freak, and I like it. People will be like, but what about the flavor? But I don't care about flavor. The hotter I can get it is, I mean, I like more subtle hot sauces too, but I'm all about like, as hot as I can get it. I love.
How hot do you go? How hot do you go though? Like everyone has a cap, right?
Listen, I'll go until I pass out or throw up. Like I'll tell you right now.
So you need to hang out with my wife's family. Her sister buys in bulk dried ghost peppers, and
my god,
yeah, in bulk. I'm not even shitting you, in bulk. And then she uses.
Do they shouldn't legally let you do that.
Yeah, they shouldn't. I think she buys it wholesale. I mean, people who make hot sauces in big batches would buy it in bulk like that.
Yeah.
And she's Korean, Japanese, born in Hawaii, just FYI. Yeah. And her sister cooks with commercial capsaicin, which is the purest form of heat. That's what they use in mace, and she uses it as if she's using salt when she seasons. Like it's insane.
It's almost like it's very funny using it, and almost like you're against bland food. Looks like an attack. Go spray it.
And you know those cartoons, like, you know, when I eat their food sometimes when they get overzealous with things, like I can understand why the cartoons where there's like steam shooting out of your ears, because literally it will burn your ears. You feel the sensation of burning your mouth.
That's Jordan at breakfast.
Yeah,
that's Jordan.
Love that. I can't do that.
I truly have to hang with them, because I'm also like, I have a high heat tolerance, but also I know that certain things are spicy, but I like when they're spicy. It's not necessarily like I eat them and I'm like, this isn't even hot. Like I like when something is really hot. I like the way it feels. I am not an adrenaline junkie at all. I'm never going to jump out of a plane. But
so nobody in the chat asked Jordan to do that.
Okay. Ask me to jump out of a plane because I'm not going to freaking do it. But as hot as I can get my food, I love it. It's my only adrenaline rush, and that is my favorite sauce. But I've rarely met a sauce I don't like.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is, wow, we could just be talking about fucking sauce and tofu all damn day. But I guess we could talk about this challenge too. And also, by the way, to the viewers, if you've got questions for Tu, pop them in the chat. We'll ask him throughout the rest of this episode. If you got questions about tofu, clearly you got to pop those in the chat, because my God, you're like a PhD in tofu. Incredible. So let's hop into this little bracket. So for those who didn't watch the episode, again, it's like a little March Madness tofu bracket. So we got people making firm. We got people making medium. We got people making soft. So first up, we had Maria versus Shota on medium tofu. Maria made soy braised tofu tamale with masa and soybeans.
This
Now,
was touch and go.
I will say,
I'm happy it turned out well.
I'm so happy it turned out well because the process of her making it, well, I was like, no.
She was not happy with it. It did not seem like it was going well. It felt really, really grim, and I love Maria, so I'm happy to go around for as long as she wants to stay.
Yes. Shota made soy braised tofu, soy milk yuba, shira, I am going to say that wrong, shira AE, and tofu crumbles. I would fuck so hard with this. I would go to the end of the earth for this. They said it ended up kind of tasting all the same.
Yeah.
A little bit. It was like too much tofu. Is that such a thing? Is there such a thing as
yeah, because tofu has a beanie taste to it.
Yeah.
And I think what Chef Shota, and I hope he doesn't get pissed at me at this, but I think he was, hopefully I'm accurate, but it seems like he was trying to go for different textures.
Oh, I think he said that too, which I think is admirable because, you know, you have medium tofu and maybe it feels like there is so much versatility in tofu that he wants to like show that off, especially, yeah.
And if I could just help elaborate sort of like the Asian sort of experience in terms of food, like, for example, when my mom references sour, she says the first thing she associates sour with, or the first thing I associate sour with is with lime and tamarind, opposed to lemon, right?
Yeah.
In addition to that, that hopefully just illustrates a different construct of how people understand, or how Asians or different cultures understand palate. And in Asia, the mass of Asia, a big staple is to balance salty or aggressive spice with alkaline. Alkaline being like a neutral taste, like tea is alkaline, right? Same thing with soy milk, anything soy product, it's alkaline. It's there to contrast. It's not there for to be like a flavor explosion the way Wagyu is, or a flavor explosion the way mushrooms are, or even spiced. That's a very American thing. So like when people eat tofu and they say it's delicious, it's because it's delicate on their tongue, because it's alkaline, because it's buttery, because it's like it's in hints of the term silken tofu.
Yeah.
That's the experience, at least for me as an Asian or Asian American, that I'm looking for tofu. And we consider that like delicate. And I'm not speaking on the full mass of Asian people, but it's just from my understanding of what tofu is supposed to be, you know?
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think too, like talking about a food that has such a huge textural component that is part of the joy of eating it is cool.
So that's the thing too. It's hard to, you have to know who you're cooking for on Top Chef. Like if you're not, you know, if people don't know the context of tofu or the history or what good tofu is, can you really truly judge if somebody made a good tofu dish?
That's right. That's actually why we, Jordan and I have talked about this. We love the kind of new season 18 COVID friendly, like judges panel, where it's not just the same 4 judges over and over or whatever. It's like, you've got Kwame, who's got his own palette. You've got Kristen, who's got her own palette. Melissa, who's got her own. And like, I feel like there's a more diverse range of people who like, I'm an expert in Chinese food. I'm an expert in Nigerian food, whatever.
You have to watch this. When judges eat food, are they cleaning their palate? Like, because you need to reset your palate between tasting different dishes. And I always watch for judges if they do that. Sometimes they edit it out so you can't see it.
Oh yeah. What if they don't? Do you say something?
What if they don't? You can't. What can you say?
Drink water, please. I'm begging you, Tom.
You know, like I've witnessed Tom go into a curry on somebody else's dish and then go into like a delicate butter poached fish and said that he tasted ginger or lemongrass and it wasn't there. I'm not going to say which episode, but
listen, I'm going to say 2 things.
Mm-hmm.
Should I start with the nice thing or the more rude thing?
Both at the same time.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay, they're two completely separate thoughts, so it's too hard. I'll start with the rude thing that's directly applicable to what you're saying.
Sure.
I think Tom is a little bit of a goofus, and I'm sorry. I think he's also like incredible in many ways and wonderful, but sometimes I'm like, you take yourself a little bit too seriously when it comes down to it, sir. You are just one human person.
Yes.
It reminds me, I mean, any judge, you know what I mean? If you're watching like Chopped, you got a Scott Conan who like will punch you in the face if you put a red onion in the dish because he doesn't like red onion. I'm like, bitch, shut up. Nobody cares that you don't like red onion.
Yeah, this is like Tom's whole okra thing. I'm like, bitch, you like okra. I mean,
okra, deal with it. Every okra dish he eats, he's like, this is actually good. I'm like,
yeah, I'm like, you like okra.
And I think that's the enjoyment about it too, is that it keeps us engaged because there's a human element of it. I don't think any judge needs to be perfect, right?
Yeah, that's true. Okay, sorry, Tom. But then speaking of perfection, my other positive thought is I'm a lesbian, but Kwame is doing something to me this season.
Kwame's doing something to everybody. Pop off in the chat if Kwame's doing something to you.
Every episode, I'm like, with his painted nails and his cool jacket and his big chunky necklaces, I'm like,
he's got some swagger. He's got some massive swagger going.
The man's got fashion sense. It's incredible. If you haven't read Notes from a Young Black Chef, you got to. It's really good. Even if you're not into food or cooking, it's just a really cool story about Kwame growing up and being a Black man in the fine dining world. And
Absolutely.
I think that's something that a story that you can see reflected in many different industries.
And he narrates his own audiobook, which makes it even more amazing in his own voice. So
fun. I had read that and I love that. Also, another quick plug for any little Top Chef freaks out there, which I'm assuming is a lot of you. Keep in mind that Sheldon's cookbook just came out recently, and so did Gregory's. And both of them are very good. Reka and I both got both of them, and they're incredible, and we love them, and we can't.
Are you about to pull out? Yes!
Yes!
That's Sheldon's book for everyone.
yes.
Incredible. Sheldon, a fan favorite of Top Chef Seattle and Top Chef South Carolina, I think.
Yeah. I would also say Sheldon's cookbook is, if you, let's say you have a cookbook collection that has a lot of similar cookbooks, or you're looking to branch out from what you typically cook, unless you are Hawaiian, I would say Sheldon's cookbook has some of the most different things that I've seen in a cookbook in a really long time, things that I don't necessarily see in a lot of restaurants, even when I go to like Hawaiian restaurants that are in LA, a lot of things that I had never heard of or seen before, and a lot of cool stories and incredible pictures. It was a really awesome kind of like learning experience for me, and I can't wait to cook literally everything in it. So I would 10 out of 10 recommend.
Just if I could just add to that as well, like I love what Sheldon does. Sheldon's the fucking homie. But what he does in a sense where, in terms of his cookbook, is I really love how he, I feel like there's a sense of erasure of the Asian population in Hawaii. I don't think people realize that there's, that the population of Hawaii is over 50% Asian.
Sure.
And, you know, given that Sheldon is Filipino Hawaiian, I think his book is very rich in that. And I think what you're seeing is that I think people, when they do Hawaiian cuisine, they're very cliche about the dishes. And he's speaking to the roots of, you know, what the natives eat and what the Asian Hawaiians eat, and kind of melded into one. So I think it's an incredible, beautifully crafted book. And I think he's offering a narrative that I have yet to see, especially stemming from Hawaii, things beyond teriyaki salmon, right? Which is
yes, I think that's an incredible point, because like the silly thing I was going to say is like, I think we have a very Americanized view of Hawaiian food. Hawaii is in America, but as you're saying, has so many other rich roots that are a lot intertwined with Asian culture and different.
Absolutely. Like there's more than just butter chicken than in South Asian food. Right?
Right? I also think that Filipino cuisine as a whole is like wildly underrepresented and underrated. I think Filipino cuisine is so incredible. And especially if you live in LA, there are some really, really incredible Filipino restaurants in LA. I know a lot of our fans do. But I think it's people, I would love to see, I feel like we don't see enough Filipino chefs on Top Chef. I would love to see in future seasons.
I agree with that 200%, especially as a dessert lover who for 27 years had to live without tasting ube. That feels fucked up for me. I have lost my goddamn mind since moving to LA and eating so many delicious Filipino baked goods from bakeries here. I'm like, where in the fuck was I going in New York? It's disgusting to me. Ube is like the most delicious thing in the world.
Ube is not just a purple, but ube is what vanilla can never be. It's like the more intense.
Yeah.
Put that on a shirt.
Yeah.
Wow.
That is
so true.
Yeah.
Vanilla could fucking never beat ube, no matter how hard he tries. Never.
Or she. Let's be binary.
Or they. It doesn't matter.
That's so true though, and that's such a perfect way to describe it. I've never thought of it that way. And whenever someone's like, "What does ube taste like?" I'm like, I don't know, delicious.
I've always said sort of like vanilla wafers, but like exalted. Like it's like got a really vanilla-y taste, but it's also got this earthy taste. Yep. And then it's like, I don't know. It's like, how do you describe love?
I'll also say I don't know why this would happen, but if you don't happen to live near like a local Filipino restaurant, but you do have a Jollibee near you, which is a Filipino chain,
best fried chicken ever.
Yes, they have incredible fried chicken. They also have like spaghetti with sauce and hot dogs on it. They have so many good dishes, but they have an ube hand pie that I have plans to take Reika to go get soon because there's one in Koreatown. But yeah, they have an ube hand pie that's so good if you don't have any local Filipino restaurants near you.
I think for the viewers who have never had Jollibee, we should just stare at the screen for 5 seconds until they decide to go get some Jollibee.
Okay, we'll do that right now.
Okay, give them 5 seconds. Okay.
Serious face.
Okay.
I think that probably can get it. And I think we're gonna get some new ube heads in the chat.
I hope y'all knew what that meant and kind of can figure your situation out, because
I hope you do. Truly incredible. I mean, my dissertation will be on how much I like ube. So if yours is on,
I love that. Let me know how to support you, please.
Okay, incredible. So let's keep moving through this tournament of tofu here. So after Shota and Maria's showdown, Shota took that one. Boop, 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 boop.
I kind of wanted Maria to win this one. No offense, Shota, because I love Shota, but I do feel like Maria's dish was a little more, I don't know if unique is the right word. I don't know. It's Pride Month. Just let her win. Neck and neck. They were right. They were head on. So I'm like, give it to her.
You know what? The judges, because they filmed this earlier, they weren't taking into effect. You know, the way they'll be like, it's Christmas. And it's probably like August when they're filming it.
Yeah.
They weren't doing that. And you're right, Jordan. You're right.
That's so true. That's so true.
Okay, so for the next tofu round, we had Gabe making marinated and braised tofu with cabbage, soybeans, and miso chicken jus.
Well, that sounds really good, actually. Yeah,
that sounds really good.
That's really good. Yeah,
delicious.
And then Dawn made West Indian style brown stew tofu with charred vegetables.
Yeah,
That sounds
that.
That sounds really great. Gabe ended up taking that one, but all these were like pretty neck and neck.
Yeah, they loved almost all of them in every round.
Yes. Then the next round, Jamie made, I'm going to say this so wrong, Bancheo, XEO, with sauteed tofu and fresh herbs.
Interesting. Yeah, Bancheo.
Bancheo, okay.
Yeah, there you go.
This, I took a picture. This looks fucking great. Oh, fuck.
You gotta hold it from your face.
Okay, I have to hold it from my face. Fuck.
Yeah, it looks great.
It was beautiful.
So good.
And multiple of the judges were like, I could eat 40.
Yeah, I think Dale said I could eat 11, which is very specific. Byron made pan-seared tofu with a daikon salad and a tofu vinaigrette. It sounds good. It's not as creative. Like if I was just...
I don't think he was pushing the boundaries on that one. It's just more like a substitute, right?
Totally. So this one, they kind of all went with Jamie, except Ed. Ed liked it. So Jamie took that one. So now we're in the second seed bracket. What level? I don't know. It's bad to progress in this bracket is also the thing.
Yeah.
So, it's the opposite of basketball.
Yeah, it's the opposite of basketball where the person at the end loses. So the tofu tournament is vicious. Okay. So Maria, for the next round, she made fried tofu steak with an Asian mole and fried soybean crumble.
Can I just call her out? Like, just what makes it Asian? Like, you had ginger, you had soy sauce, and it's just like, you put ketchup on something, you call it's American now. Like, what if somebody put curry in something and they call it Indian, right? So I think as a Top Chef alum or contestant, whatever you want to call it, I think in preparing your dishes, it's also incredibly important to name your dishes appropriately, so that way it will be better perceived. It's kind of like writing a beautiful book with a shitty book cover, right?
Sure. That's a great analogy.
So like, just for me, I'm already turned off by it, because why are you calling it an Asian mole? I'm about to geek out on y'all. Did you guys know mole are from South? Mole has a strong history of being South Asian. Now, it has a correlation being South Asian because of the Middle Eastern immigrants that went through the Gulf of Mexico and contributed to shawarma and mole. Check out Claudette. Claudette did a whole video on mole.
Oh, Claudette from Colorado. Yeah.
For my season. She did a whole piece on mole on YouTube. So make sure you guys check yourself.
Wow.
I mean, not check yourself, but check that out.
Yeah.
You can check yourself.
Yeah. Then check yourself.
Right? It's kind of saying like Asian California roll.
Right. I mean, this is the thing with Top Chef that they've done. Like, one of the most egregious things in the earlier season is the use of the word Asian to a comical degree. In season 1, someone makes something, gun to my head, could not tell you what it was, an Asian pillow. It was like a dessert. It's like, what the fuck is that?
That's what I like about Dawn. I feel like she's very
specific.
That, and also she's technique driven. You know what I mean? Like, if she's implementing a cooking style, it's a technique, not an ingredient, And I think people fail to realize that if you look at all ingredients, it always traces genetically back to Africa or either the Middle East.
Totally.
Period. Lemongrass is genetically from Asia. I mean, from Africa, period.
Oh.
And people think it's Vietnamese. It's not. It's, they use tons of lemongrass in Africa till this day.
Yeah. That's so interesting. Okay, guys, we're learning a lot here, and I love it.
Incredible.
So Dawn made Nashville hot tofu with pickles and a soy buttermilk ranch.
Yeah.
This shit looked so good. And to your point earlier, too, to me, it was like
technique driven, right?
It was technique driven, and like, yes, tofu is literally subbing out chicken, but in a really cool way that is flavorful. Like, it just seems fucking delicious and very thoughtful.
Even though she subbed it out,
she's
applying technique to it to get another texture, opposed to like grilled fish and then grilled tofu, and then
exactly. She's not making a 1-to-1. She's translating it for what the thing is.
Yes, absolutely.
The bummer, if you watch the episode, is in an effort to add color to the plate, which is always something I'm like, I feel like that's a kiss of death whenever someone's like, I'm going to put this on just to add color to the plate.
Like cilantro.
She mandolins some turnips and slices her hand at the last minute, and the blood gets all in the pickles and kind of fucks up her plating, and she doesn't get one of the plates out. Because I feel like
I say as a default, just use your knife for all Top Chef future contestants. Stay away from the mandolin. It's not worth it. And you can't slice thin like that with a knife, And
like, you're being timed. I would just never want to use a mandolin in like a 20-minute challenge.
Use the handguard for the mandolin. I know that's not cool. To me, using the handguard for the mandolin feels like wearing a helmet when you skateboard.
I agree. It looks stupid.
Cool. It looks stupid.
It's worse. It's like wearing knee pads.
Yeah. Wrist guards.
Wrist guards. Yeah.
Okay, but here's the thing. When I see someone wearing knee pads and wrist guards, I go safe. I like you. I value your life. Incredible. So that was a bummer. She kind of automatically got DQ'd from the win for that, which in a 3-person bracket,
she would have won that. I bet.
I think she would have loved it.
Yeah.
Byron in this little bracket made soft tofu. That is his next one. Byron made guajillo fried tofu with grilled shrimp, smoked fried tofu puree, prosciutto, and crispy tofu skins. It sounds good, but
it sounds interesting. You
Yeah.
know, I gotta taste it.
I taste it.
It's like fried tofu puree. I've never had that, so I can't judge. Is that fair? That's a fair statement, right?
Yeah. Okay, so then Maria wins that round, and Dawn and Byron have to go into the silken tofu battle.
Nice.
They both make almost the same exact thing. I will say, down to like the fruit they choose. So Dawn makes a mango tofu mousse with macerated mango, diced soft tofu, and a sesame okara crumble.
Nice.
Now you know I'm about to fuck something up that's got a crumble and it's got seeds and it's got mango. I'm about to fuck that up. That sounds great.
And if I could just add to the difficulty, you know what okara is, right? It's basically when you make soy milk, you have the leftover pulp from the beans. And okara is often used as a byproduct. I'm sorry, I'm geeking out, but okara is usually used as a byproduct to feed animals like cows and shit.
Oh.
And when they do have it, if matriarchs have used it, they used it the same way you use rice. So they would season and add other things to it, and it would be, if anything, less nourishment, but it's just there to be a filler, the way rice is a filler.
Yeah, fuck.
So
that
like
rules.
to make a crumble out of it is fairly difficult because pulp, any sort of pulp, has quite a bit of moisture.
Yeah, so you'd have to dry it for a while, but like there's no time.
So I'm assuming it probably got soggy or it wasn't crispy enough. Did that happen? I'm just curious.
They didn't say it, but also she's against one other person and they might not have like nitpicked that much. Because I don't know that they liked the next one quite as much.
Okara is a hard one to work with, really hard one. So they're ambitious to do that.
Well, let me blow your mind here because here's what Byron made. Soft tofu mousse with honey, okara, and dried mango granola.
Interesting.
Almost the exact same thing.
Did they look at each other? And
each other's papers? I don't know. Out of all the ingredients there, they chose like the exact same 3 things.
I think that makes it for a good competition when people are cooking with the same ingredients.
Oh, right? yeah, for sure. Harder to, you're being compared a one-to-one basis.
You're forced to be more creative, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So unfortunately, Byron got eliminated.
Byron goes home. Sad. We had Byron on the show last week. He was great. Very kind. But he seems like he's doing well now. So
yeah.
I tell you this, everyone who got on the show, especially if they understand exposure, you're a winner, period.
Oh,
like seriously,
yeah.
Exposure, the brands, the opportunities. Like I think people don't care. When they put you out in a newspaper, there's a headliner, it just says local top chef, top chef from Oakland or top chef from Port. That's all that really matters. And I'm telling you, I obviously didn't win, but the opportunities that came to me were amazing.
Oh yeah.
You made it on Talk Chef.
Yeah.
You made it, yeah. Making it on Talk Chef is something almost no one has ever been able to do.
And even though I didn't win, I was a TV show host for a holiday segment on ABC.
That's incredible.
I co-executive produced a film that's like airing nationally on PBS right now. You guys should watch it. It's called Bloodline.
Yeah.
And then like Sheldon and the other guys, I'm working on my cookbook right now. But for those guys any person who works on a cookbook, it takes like 2 to 3 years. It takes forever.
They did a cookbook challenge last week, and it was like, this seems unfair.
Yes, it seems bad. May I ask, are there can you give us any little secrets or hints or nuggets of good information about your cookbook that you are looking to share?
So absolutely. So I've been on this path ever since post Top Chef to kind of dive further about the cuisine of the matriarchs of my family, which have always been the backbone and root of how I cook. And then that translated into a film that I did, an effort to learn about the immigration story about my mother. And I grew up very poor, and it's about her being very resourceful with very limited ingredients. Given that we grew up in a USDA certified food desert here in Oakland, you know. And kind of stemming from that, my sort of narrative is that I want to empower my mother and the matriarchs in my family through food, in a sense where it's, you know, as an immigrant or a refugee, people see that it's weak, especially being a woman. I want to give that power back to them. It's an empowering thing. You've been through this. You've gone through this. You were innovative. Your son became a top chef, you know, even though, you know, we made dishes out of stuff that other people wouldn't eat, you know. And my cookbook is based in that sort of tone, is that this reclamation of power for the women in my family, you know. So
That's awesome.
Oh, I can't wait to get it. I'm so excited for it to come out.
Thank you. 2 years, 3 years. I'll keep you guys posted.
Okay,
I just started this year. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
I'm sure. We're so excited, and we'll totally share and post about it. That's awesome.
You guys are the first one that I've announced this to. So it's an effort, but let's you know, it's in our fingers crossed that everything gets lined up. So
okay. Well, you literally heard it here first. Please check out this cookbook that is surely going to be fucking incredible.
Absolutely.
But first, check out my film. It's on YouTube. Everyone can watch it for free. We did that consciously because we want this content to be inclusive. But just go to chef2.com. And then the first video you see is a 26-minute short film that you can enjoy with your family. Just know, for all my fellas out there, and women as well too, it's a tearjerker. So you don't watch it in front of people that you don't want to see you cry.
Okay, that's important. And that's important for anything you do in life.
Don't watch it at work. How about that?
NSFW, but just for tears.
No, that's definitely true. Okay, also I do have a quick kind of some breaking news that's coming in from my former roommate and current BFF, Charles. He sent me a link to a place called Red Ribbon, which is a Filipino bakery that was acquired by Jollibee, that now has multiple locations, one of which being in Glendale, California, Reka, right in between where both of us live. And they have a cake called the Ube Overload. So we will be going there next week. As everyone's yelling at me, I cannot drop the link in the chat, but look up Red Ribbon. Maybe there's one near you. They also have like arroz caldo, different types of meat empanadas, all different types of cake and pastries and stuff. It looks bomb. So thank you, Charles, for bringing this to our attention.
Oh my, sorry. I'm looking at the This looks so good.
I want to look at this now.
Shit.
Charles is not, no offense, Charles. Charles is not particularly food savvy in general.
So this is actually huge for Charles.
This is huge for Charles. Charles really found this for us, is what I will say, and that's very sweet.
Briefly wanting to touch on something people in the chat are talking about, which is Last Chance Kitchen. There were, yes, we didn't even, did we talk? I forget, Jordan, did we talk last week about the car thing?
Yeah, we talked about the car thing and how it was stupid.
Okay, great, perfect. Tom rode around a racetrack in a car, and that's how long you had to cook, and I think that's stupid. Okay, so this week it was Sarah versus Byron. This is the one you want to win to get back into the show. Sarah lost, which was really surprising. Not that Byron's not great.
Sarah had won so many of them.
She won so many. She's such a fighter. And then Byron lost his final one to get back into the show, which is a bummer. But I'm sure great for the current contestants that they don't want an extra person in there.
One final opportunity for Sarah to refer to her food as weird or unusual, a thing I hated all season. And I really liked Sarah, but I'm like, Sarah, stop.
She has imposter syndrome. I was following Sarah before she went on to Top Chef, and I just remember her having this very quiet personality. And and I really love how she came out of her shell, because I feel that a lot of my female colleague chefs, they have this imposter syndrome, just to be very transparent, that's very male dominant. And, you know, kind of speaking to Sarah, she probably had to exist in a very male dominant sort of space without being able to like open up out of her shell. So
yeah, that's a good point. I mean, the people going on the show aren't necessarily like, I like being on camera, you know.
I appreciate Sarah a lot, because I think there's a lot of people who are not as camera great, but are incredible cooks.
Totally. Totally.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, Sarah, I'll just say, if you're watching, I know you are, I think you're great. Your food's not weird. Your food looks delicious.
Your food looks incredible, and we would all eat the shit out of it.
True.
All right. So guys, if you have any questions for Tu, pop them in the chat. We got like a minute or so left. But Tu, something we like to do at the end of every episode is ask what you would have cooked in this challenge. And now there wasn't really like number one winner here necessarily, right, Jordan? If I'm remembering correctly.
No.
But if you were given, firstly, what type of tofu would you have chosen to work with, and what would you have made?
They have soy milk.
They had firm, medium, silken.
You could use soy milk. You just also still had to use
Yes.
who they provided you with.
I would have used soy milk and made yuba, and made kumiyage, and then I think for the silken tofu that they provided, I think because when silken tofu gets set, it's not as silky as silken tofu is supposed to be. I would have pureed it and made it into something else. Silken tofu makes for a great puree to fluff and stuff with. So like a mousse, if you will, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But, fried tofu is probably one of my favorite things. You know, like making like fried tofu puffs, you know, tossing it in some sort of like anything from like furikake or like sweetened curry powder or something like that.
Yeah, sauce on there.
And kind of eat it like popcorn. It's like one of my favorite like street snacks.
Eating it like popcorn. I don't actually like popcorn very much. It's the only thing corn has ever done wrong for me.
So it doesn't taste like popcorn. It's
good.
Yeah. In Vietnam, you'll find tofu vendors where they'll fry fresh tofu and then they'll sauce it the way Jordan likes sauce, whether it's hot sauce or curry, whatever it is.
Or like a big trough of sauce.
And they'll put it like in a small plastic bag and they mix it up.
Pumpkin of sauce.
Yeah, it's fucking amazing.
So good.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Incredible. So Tu, just a couple of little questions before we wrap up. Do you have a favorite challenge from your season of Top Chef?
My favorite challenge. I would have to say cooking with the kids. That was so awesome.
Oh my God. When you had the little with the children, the little tiny one.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing. I think more than cooking for judges or in a fine dining restaurant or kind of everything else in between, I think I enjoy cooking for kids the most.
That's awesome.
Because it's so pure, it's genuine, it's fun. And I love teaching too. That's the other thing. So good vibes.
Yeah. Do you have a least favorite challenge from your season?
What's that?
Do you have a least favorite challenge from your season?
I would have to say the one that got eliminated on, of course, was the in the snow. I was over it. I was like, that
was honestly fucked up.
Yeah.
They put Leanne Wong on a mountain while she's pregnant.
Yep.
No, not
it wasn't. I'm telling you, it wasn't well thought out. But I think the thing is, like with Top Chef, they try to do new things every season.
Oh, I know.
I think they had a big learning lesson for the Colorado season. Like, oh, I think we're going a little bit too far with this.
Yeah, we're sticking a bunch of people on top of a fucking mountain and making them sleep there, and they're like, "You should cook me pasta."
So they gave us an hour to. They gave us like an hour or two to set up camp, and they said that at this time we're going to shut off all the lights and you have to go to sleep and you can't set up anymore. And I remember the thing that threw us off the most. This is the night before the challenge. They wouldn't tell us how much wood fire we have, so we didn't know if we could, burn more wood fire to keep warm, or should we reserve it for the next day?
What's the use in keeping that information from you?
Yeah,
but that has nothing to do with cooking.
No,
the camping thing.
That's stupid. That's what I mean. I will always talk about this challenge, but there's some things that like don't relate to cooking at all that are just spectacle to be on TV. Like the freaking Pee Wee Herman challenge. I will not have it. I can't challenge. It's too stupid.
So let me make a counterpoint though, just if any. Like they did fucking take care of us. They kept us up in pet houses. The fridges were fully sponsored by Whole Foods, whatever we want. So a day of hell was made up of a day in heaven once we got eliminated, kicked off, and went back to the house. So
okay,
I was having a great time.
Yeah.
I grew up in a food desert, and I was like, sponsored fridge by Whole Foods. I'm about to eat. That's the thing I look forward to the most.
That's incredible. Elaine asked, what was the best thing you learned from your experience on Top Chef?
You know, as you guys may know, Chef Fati has now passed.
Yeah.
She's no longer with us. But I think, if anything, my learning experience, I'm getting I'm getting goosebumps right now. Just
I
thinking
know, we love her. Yeah.
You know, I've never seen somebody celebrate life so much. She was like one of the happiest people I knew, and she was the happiest person on the show. I could have sworn if she, you know, she would have celebrated so much success if she was with us now. But my biggest learning lesson is to love life the way Fati did. You know, it was, you know, it's one of those things where for every success, no matter who we are on our season, you know, we're always saying to each other and ourselves is that, you know, she should have celebrated this with us, and that hurts, you know.
Yeah.
I'd say, if anything, that was our blessing. We'll all say this for sure. That was our blessing and our biggest learning lesson. And fuck everything else. You know, we got to spend time with Fati.
Yeah. Brother was on a few episodes ago, and he echoed a similar sentiment.
No,
Close.
absolutely. We all did, you know, like, I think, you know, whether there were gripes or whatever disagreements amongst our cast, Fati was the one main force that brought us all together. You know, we were all there for, you know, in her last moments, and you know, that brought us together. And that makes you realize, like, you know, Top Chef was a show, like, fuck the politics behind it, and the most important thing is that this thing brought us all together to meet. I think that's the most amazing thing. So
I think that's beautiful, and such a beautiful aspect of the show we don't often talk about. Like, we talk a lot about the food, but not a ton about the community of chefs it creates and the friendships and
lifelong friendships, if that, right?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Everyone from every single season that we've ever had on has always kind of echoed that, of being like, I'm still friends with so many of the people from my season, from other seasons, whatever. So I think that's like a truly incredible thing that the show is doing.
Yeah. And Tu, thank you so much for being on the show. This was such a beautiful episode. People in the audience are like, this is such a beautiful episode as well. Really appreciate it. You taught us so much.
Yeah, to echo what Reka is saying, this was easily our most educational episode.
Absolutely.
You're our smartest contestant. I almost said you're our smartest guest we've ever had.
Yeah.
I was just reading stuff off the side banner of my website. I was looking stuff up while.
Yeah. And the tofu, yeah.
That kind of strategy, that's smart too.
That's smart. Tu, thank you again for being on the show. Viewers, if you want to donate to the season's charity, it's Heart of Dinner. Venmo Jordan at JordanMyR1CK. That info is in the chat. It's in the description of the video. And one more thing, too, is you want to tell them? Okay. Producers gave me the okay. You are Top Chef.
Oh, thank you. Yes, raise the roof.
Yeah.
There are 2 ways to become a Top Chef. You can either compete on the show Top Chef and win, or you can guest on the live stream YouTube show Talk Chef.
So I love it.
It's actually incredible. Either way, as I always say, an Indian woman will tell you are Top Chef.
That's awesome. And then I will bribe you with tofu. So.
Very susceptible to bribery.
We're very susceptible to tofu bribes. My God, you said pumpkin of tofu, and I've never stopped thinking about it.
Seriously, send me your mailing addresses, and then let's get this figured out.
Okay, we gotta figure it out. Okay, it's time to end the episode. We gotta figure this out.
Yeah, Jordan and I are both gonna have a heart attack. Thank you again, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and come back next week for another episode of Talk Chef. Bye.